Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have one of our favorite guests on. We have Mr. Eric Harp. He is a certified professional fitness trainer and educator, and of course, we're going to talk current topics tonight, but our main fitness topic is discussing using free weights to get fit at home. Hello, Mr. Harp. Welcome to the show.
Well, Mrs. Davis, it is so good to be with you.
It is great to have you here. All right, let's get right to it. So, in the United States right now, we have this thing called a government shutdown. You want to talk about that, Mr. Hurt? Because,
Wow. It's one of those pointing the fingers and trying to see who's at fault. That's the
right.
ridiculous part. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, for those who are not up to speed, um, they won't even be negotiated with the Democrats. No one's trying to, in full faith, negotiate with them. They're being blamed for the trying to give health care to undocumented immigrants. And the law says that undocumented immigrants cannot receive Medicare, food stamps, or any of these government subsidies. By law, they cannot receive them. And yet, the Democrats are being blamed for trying to skirt the law and give them Medicare, which in full faith that anybody who needs emergency treatment can get emergency treatment. If it ever comes down to life or death, serious injury, anyone is available to go to the emergency room and receive care. So it's a little bit, redundant. However, the Democrats are trying to get the ACA, which is the Affordable Care Act, not repealed.
Mm-hmm.
So what they don't, they don't want to get our subsidies taken away, and then we have to start paying higher costs for health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just one of the ways that each other's pointing the finger at each other, and it just doesn't seem to work out. So, everything has to revolve around undocumented immigrants, of course. And so it's all about who can have something, who can't have something. And then we have our supreme feeling beings that inhabit this country who think that no one should get it who's unworthy. So it's a mess. And now we're dealing with a government shutdown. Post people can't get paid. Any federal worker is not getting paid right now. And then they're also under threat of just being fired or laid off just because of the shutdown. So it's a mess.
And I'll add, there has been conversation that even when the shutdown should end, that these government workers may not be entitled to back pay. So, however long that this shutdown takes, and keep in mind, this is also our air traffic controllers and different people around our airports, our security, our transportation, TSA, all of these people are impacted. So I have people that I know that are traveling that are already projecting that there's going to be an interruption to service and opportunities to get service just because of that. So they're making plans to get around that. It's also ironic with the shutdown that this administration and the Republican Party have completely blamed Democrats, yet they have all three houses of government, from the executive branch to the legislative branch and to the judicial branch, which includes the Supreme Court. So, Mr. Harp, I know you went through basic fifth grade American government and social studies and history, and I'm just trying to figure out how it is that one party who has total control is turning around and blaming the party that is in minority control, that no matter what they do, they can't usurp the majority party. You want to touch on that
Well,
for a minute and then we'll move on?
it all comes down to the numbers game. Okay, you have enough in the house to get a lot of things moving, but they still need some of the Democrats.
Mhm.
Same thing in the Senate. It's 50-50.
Mhm.
However, you need 60 votes to pass anything.
Right.
So even if you got all of the Republicans voting one way, they need to sway at least 10 Democrats to their side so they can get anything passed. And because some of the frivolous bills are just that or worse, oh, they can't get those 10 votes to come onto their side and to uh, make any kind of legislation.
Mhm.
You know, it amazes me sometimes how people got uh, into their post, Senate confirmed. Sometimes it amazes me on some of the picks that have made it through the cracks.
Mhm.
Being able to sway at least 10 of those Democrats.
Absolutely.
Now, if it's the other way around, the same rules apply. So it's a numbers game. And so now it's how ridiculous of the bill can you make it? How clean can you make it look? So another mess. And
Another mess.
we stuck in a lot of mess.
Yes, we are. And speaking of another mess, there's a crazy thing that happened in Texas, and we've been talking about it. And it's
Yeah.
been the political maps have been redrawn. And so Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's district has totally been absorbed into another district where she's in, I don't want to say unfamiliar territory, but not in a territory that she is familiar with of people that she's necessarily campaigned with. Now she is still running. I believe she's doing well, but I do know that she is being outspent by her competitor. She's been saying that, and so just a few thoughts, Mr. Harp, on this redistricting to make sure that you're leveling the playing grounds for yourself.
Well, one of the most ridiculous things is um, the attack from the top to the red states.
Hmm.
And so you have a couple years ago you had DeSantis from Florida, who was the big name. Now it's Governor Abbott, who's the big name. Um, Another big state, and what they did was decide to um, do a mid-year or mid-decade census and to redistrict.
Hmm.
A lot of gentrification going on. And so with this redistricting, excuse me if I'm not getting the words out correctly, but the redistricting has now made some of the Congress people's areas much smaller. And so that they lose that representation.
Hmm.
All right. And so there were some Democrats that were lost. There were some Republicans that gained seats. So it made it a little lopsided in the state house. But then that changes the way that the House is federally because now they get more representatives when it comes to the House of Representatives.
Hmm.
So this redistricting, um, making small pockets, and then it comes down to race. So you have your black and brown people disenfranchised, and so the federal funding starts to dry up. And in specifically to Miss Jasmine Crockett, uh, she might be being outspent, but she's a a social media
Yes.
wizard because her videos, her debating style,
Hmm.
reminding everybody that she was an attorney,
Yes.
a prosecutor. And
Hmm.
so she's used to a lot of the lies that come out of people's mouths and a lot of the spin. And so when it comes to the debates and it comes to somebody trying to fact check her, she always seems to come back with some receipts. And
Yes.
so on social media, that makes her shine. You
Hmm.
know, also makes some other people not see her as well. And they always want to, when I say they, and I mean some of the other talking heads in social media and on the mainstream media seem to take shots at her.
Mhm.
And again, a lot of it just comes down to race. Uh, um, the vice president who ran for president didn't seem to pull off a lot when it came to race. And as unfortunate that as that is, those same thoughts seem to permeate into Texas
Mhm. Mhm.
and another strong black woman.
Absolutely. It's a thread. Um, there's a lot happening. We could touch on Chicago, where you had Black people that were pulled out of their apartments in the middle of the night. It's 10 p.m., everybody's asleep, and you had um, ICE, the local police department, and I believe it was the FBI, all in a joint task force looking for Venezuelan gangs. I find it ironic that all you found were disenfranchised poor Black people who were asleep in the only space that they call home, something simple and modest. You drag them from their homes, you break out windows, you topple furniture, go through things looking for whatever it is that you're looking for and not finding it. But the glaring piece of this that sticks out like a sore thumb is that you had children zip tied to each other. They said there
Mhm.
were children that could barely walk. So these are babies
And
that
undressed.
undressed.
And undressed.
Yes, undressed and naked because they were in bed. Because anyone who's ever had a baby, you don't put a lot of clothes on a baby. Either they're in a onesie or which is no sleeves or no pants, or they're in the full body sleeper. And then depending on what the weather is, a few days ago it was still warm. So if it's warm, your child may only be in a diaper and an undershirt. Feet out, you have children, Mr. Harp. I have children. We know both of my children could never keep socks on. Could put socks on, tie the shoes, everything was good. Next thing you know, you turn around and they sitting there, ha ha ha, I took my shoes off. And I'm like, what is happening? But you have babies, small children that were ripped from their parents and zip tied. And these are people that look like us. And from what's happening in Texas to what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in Portland, where this administration is threatening to send ICE and Homeland Security and the National Guard because they want to quell protesters. You look at what's happening in New York, you have people taking to the streets. There is a lot of anger in this country.
And
That
it's
leads,
going to get worse. And it's going to get worse.
yes,
And I'm
please.
sorry, I'm aware that I just rudely cut you off.
It's okay. Go
Um,
ahead. Go ahead.
but there's another thing, according to this Constitution, that we're supposed to govern by.
Yes,
And so the Constitution also says that the military is not to be used as the police force.
correct.
And so what it seems to, we hear a lot of the threats that, going to send some troops to your city. And so now here we are, we're getting into Chicago, and Chicago's got a lawsuit over it. Portland
Hmm.
had a lawsuit over it, and the Supreme Court said no, you cannot send people there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, when we are aware of the statistics of where the higher crime rates are, those are in some of those red states.
Hmm. Hmm.
Those are in some of those states like Louisiana,
Hmm.
Tennessee.
Hmm.
So,
Texas right now, I saw a statistic that said their crime rate is higher than California.
well, and be that as it may, we still have a police force. We
We
still
do.
have police forces,
Mhm.
you know, with the city police as well as the state police. So to have the federal troops to come in who are not trained police people
Mhm.
to come in and all they want to do is zip tie young children, break windows, flip furniture
Mhm.
in order to meet a quota that is sent from the top.
Correct.
So here we are in another mess.
Another mess. The last mess that we will talk about, and I don't make light of this at all, because when I heard of this, it broke my heart. And this isn't the first, nor will it be the last. But there was a young man from Guyana who was in his first year at Delta State University in Mississippi. He was found hanging on the pickleball courts of this university. And I thought, it is 2025 and they are still lynching people. There was an older gentleman from New York, I believe, who was lynched shortly beforehand. There have been several brothers that have been found lynched up and down the East Coast. And each police department, because it's interesting that you brought up the police, each police department has specifically said, oh, this was suicide. I don't care what scientists you bring on, Black people do not hang themselves. It is too close to lynching. Black people may do other things to kill themselves. People will do what they will do when they're desperate. Hanging is not one. And thank goodness that Colin Kaepernick came out and paid for a second autopsy to make sure that we had accurate findings, because the original autopsy said, oh, he hung himself. And I remember reading the initial police report, and the initial police report said, well, he had a broken leg and a broken arm. So I'm thinking, I have a little bit of education. Mr. Harp, if somebody broke their leg and broke their arm, wouldn't it be difficult for them to hang? I mean, you're gonna laugh, and I know, and this is not funny.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing at the ridiculousness of the
Absolutely.
thought.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I was going. The ridiculousness of the fact that you want people to believe that this young man who just okay, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, who just spoke to his Black mama from Guyana and said, Mama, I'm so excited to be here. I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna get me whatever he was going to get a degree in. He was so excited to turn around and kill himself. It doesn't make sense. Anybody who's worked with people in mental health care, that's not how that works. But again, this is what happens when raggedy, racist, I was trying to think of another R word, raggedy, racist, mediocre people don't have any thought or creativity and just want to continue to do the same narrative. And so the narrative is this young man hung himself. The I don't remember if he was the president of the university, but it was some high ranking official who came out with the police chief and said campus is safe. Because I was waiting. I was like, okay. Because students came out, diverse, white and Black. What's going on? I also just recently read that this young man was arguing with somebody online. Guys, I'm going to take a moment. I know we do this social media thing. We put up posts, people say stuff to us, whatever. You have to understand there are some people that will not respect the fact that you could say something behind a keyboard just like they can. And some people will look for you. And if they look for you and come for you, that's a different situation. Now, you have to handle that. I'm not suggesting violence or anything like that, but you do what you have to do to protect yourself. But this young man allegedly was arguing with some white people online. And I do believe that's who came and harmed him because of what he said. Your thoughts, Mr. Hurt?
Let's go back to the suicide.
Yes.
Um, no, broken bones is not one of those things that allow you to get one of those successful lifts and plunges. So, no, sounds graphic, but you know, we've seen it. We've seen it in movies enough time to know. Okay. Um, the cover ups. You know, this was definitely some kind of racist attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, being from Guyana, of course, he didn't talk like a regular Southern boy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I'll say that in jest, but listen, that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I mean, it's sad. It's sad that memories like that come to mind, um, of lynching. All right. Um, and there were some other cases in Texas, with the body found on a tree,
Mhm.
um, at HBCUs. So this whole whirlwind of attacking colleges, attacking universities, um, especially the black universities, the places where you're gonna find the majority of people of color. All right, and you take a lot of these deep feelings that have never really gone away,
Mhm.
that get amplified. I'm not gonna just blame anything on social media, but it does have a you know, big part of it. Um, Misinformation. So you got people who only get half the story, a piece of the story, or look what I heard, guess what I heard. And
Mhm.
you get a situation like this young man has been a victim of. The It smells funny. It is funny. Um, and I mean that weird. So it smells weird, it is weird.
Mhm.
But there's a cover up to
Mhm.
it. All right. Now, arguing with some people online, if they found that that's the case, then that should be a motive
Mhm.
for an investigation. But as the general public, we're not going to get that kind of information on what's going on right there.
Mhm.
We'd only hear the result. But the deep sadness of a young black man found hung is just ridiculous.
Mhm.
And, you know, let me draw this out a little further. There's a lot of people in this country, especially from the top, that are trying to roll back our culture. Um, this slogan that we've heard over and over, at what point was America great?
Correct.
And so we're trying to roll it back. You have the medical, from the top, trying to roll back vaccines and roll it back to when it was nice in the 1960s. And for a lot of this population, the 1960s were not great.
No, they were not.
And so, though we may have had a lot of historical moments like women being able to vote, black people being able to vote, when was it great?
Mhm.
And to hear of the incidents that are going on, that put that black eye on this country going on again in 2025, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, it's sad, and it should get a lot more news coverage than it has. You know, the violence that has popped off at some of these college campuses. You know, I know we want to give over into the Middle East and in Israel and Gaza all of the attention, but what about these things that are happening right here?
The shootings. Every time we turn around, there's a shooting at a college campus. Minus the HBCUs, and I hope that that stays. But I always tell people, I said, look at who's shooting up these colleges. Look who is shooting up people. Mr. Harp, they don't look like you or me.
No, we're the victims.
We're the victims.
We're the victims. And again, we get some of that story of a cover up that somehow we must have brought it upon ourselves.
Mhm.
But we're the victims, not the aggressors.
Exactly.
No. And listen, and the truth is that those stories that where there is an aggressor, or we want to blow that up and put that on the nightly news for
Mhm.
4 days straight.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when it comes down to when we're just the victim, it doesn't seem to work the same way.
It does not.
If there's a mention, it's a byline, some little quick, oh, by the way. Now back to the big news.
Mhm. Correct.
So, once again, and it makes me upset because, again, I remember, like you said, I remember our fifth grade civics class. I remember eighth grade civics class.
Hmm.
but I also remember my American history had a lot more in it than what they're trying to allow today.
Correct. Correct. It's a lot. So,
It's a
Mr.
mess.
It is a mess. So, Mr. Hart, because we always talk about this and you always remind us that we have to exercise the biggest muscle in our body, which are our minds.
That's
Talk
right.
about, because there is so much, and I will be the first to admit I struggle watching the news. I'll watch it for maybe a minute or 2, turn it right off because that's as much as I can tolerate. I typically get most of my news from online, um, and then sort of will investigate if I need to know more, but a lot of it just brings anxiety, and we
Yes.
know that staying in shape, getting fit, working out, exercising, all of those things help with that. And so for those people that have free weights at home, because a lot of people bought things for their home, but those small little weight sets with the 2 pounds, the 5 pounds, the 8 pound, maybe a 10 pound, what are some exercises that we can do at home that would help keep us fit and keep our minds anxiety free?
Well, one, I'm glad you asked, because though I say that this is the biggest muscle that we have, uh, not only being informed, but sometimes we got to relax it. Sometimes it's time to get away from the everyday anxiety and stress. And so one of the biggest things is exercise
Mhm.
that can help. And so you talk about small weights. Now, there's lots of things that we can do for those that like to um, watch videos or workout um, workout challenges. One of the things is put those 2 weight pounds in your hands and make it a little bit more challenging for you. So whenever you do the running motion, okay, when you use your arms, I know my screen's not big enough, but when you put your arms out and just go in circles, um, these simple exercises with just a little bit more resistance helps to bring out some more of that muscle density. All right, now we definitely still want to stretch. So
Mhm.
as you reach down for your toes, put the weights in your hands. All right. For those that are able to stretch in a prone position, bring the weights over your head. Okay. And whenever you get back up to work your abdomen and work your stomach muscles, reaching for your toes when you do those sit ups. Sometimes when you're doing planks, you can lift the weights back up. So there's lots of exercises that you can do. But again, walk, move, take those weights with you. Walk with the 2 pound weights, and they're not very difficult to hold. It's like holding grocery bags when you're coming from the store. Um, but walk with some of those and use the resistance to your advantage. So those are some of the things that I'd recommend the most. Not everybody's going to be able to do all of the exercises that they may see in the video, but if those that you can do, add some resistance to it, and you'll thank me later.
Awesome, Mr. Harp. Now, another question for you. Is there
Yeah.
a difference between smaller weights or large weights? For example, if someone has a bench that has 18, 20, 25, maybe 50 pounds, is it better to work out with bigger weights or smaller weights, or is there a difference really or not?
Well, it's all about what you can handle.
Mhm.
Okay. For those who are just starting out, you want to start with the lower weights, the smaller weights. And if you as you build muscle, as you build um, more tolerance with the repetitions, then you can start to move up to some of the heavier weights. However, to be safe, always use a spotter. Always have somebody with you so that if things become a little bit difficult, then your spotter or your assistant can be able to help you to relieve some of the weights. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of the heavy weights while you're by yourself at all. So keep it small, use some resistance. And again, that resistance will help you build some muscle density.
Excellent, Mr. Hart. Before we get out of here, thank you again for being on the show and giving us an update on current events and giving us some wise advice on staying in shape and getting fit with free weights. But tell us how we can find you on social media and how we can reach you if we want to talk to you directly.
Once again, hit me up, Eric Harp 9 at Gmail. You can find me. You can also find me as ESQ. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hart. You guys know me as your host, Kimberly Basher Davis. You can find me everywhere on social media. If you want to see more of this show, you can look up the Kim B. Davis Show / Kimberly Basher Davis or youtube.com, excuse me, youtube.com / Kimberly Basher Davis. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Wisdom, Spill, Fanbase, uh, Lemon, and TikTok. I'm on all of those platforms and I always post a few snippets of those. You can learn more about me as an author at kimbdavis.com. And I hope you will join us on our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.